Hi students, welcome you all to Advanced Audit and Assurance session. I'm Fareen, I'm your lecturer who's going to teach Advanced Audit and Assurance paper to you all. And if I take myself, I'm going to introduce myself to you. My name is Fareen and I teach Audit and Assurance paper and Advanced Audit and Assurance paper and costing related papers in ACCA programs. And if I take myself, I teach reporting papers for CA Sri Lanka programs. And also I graduated from University of Sri Jawadhanapura. And I did my master's in University of Colombo. And I'm doing my PhD in University of Caledonia. Along with that, I did my ACCA as well. So more than 13 years, I'm doing a lecture for ACCA programs in Sri Lanka, Maldives, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and India. So over this last 13 years, I highly specialized in skills level audit and assurance paper and professional level advanced audit and assurance paper. So if I take myself throughout this academic career plus professional career, the exposure that I got through this research, through these audit firm exposures, I feel that I can comfortably convey or analyze the case studies to my students. So if I take my professional career, I work with Ernst & Young as auditor for a couple of years. And I work with Sri Lankan as an internal audit department. After that, I become a full-time lecturer in both professional and academic field. Right. Now let's move to our paper. So Advanced Audit and Assurance is an optional paper in your ACCA. Advanced Audit and Assurance is an optional paper in your ACCA professional level. You all know that ACCA have three different levels. One is we call knowledge level, two skills level, three professional level. And if I take these professional level papers, we can divide these professional level papers into two categories. One is professional mandatory modules. Those are SBL, Strategic Business Leader, and Strategic Business Reporting. And professional optional papers. There are 4 papers, optional papers. Students need to select 2 papers. Those 4 papers are like a specialization programs in the degree. So those who are studying in universities, you might know there are specialization programs. Common program first 2 years and from 3rd year onwards. Some universities from 4th year onwards, they have specialization programs. So you can specialize in marketing, you can specialize in accounting, you can specialize in finance, you can specialize in valuation, you can specialize in BIS, likewise HR, administration, likewise here also 2 core modules in the professional level, that is mandatory module everyone should do. One is Strategic Business Leader and Strategic Business Reporting. The second optional modules, your specialized area that you have to choose. There are 4 paths given to you, 4 optional modules given to you. From those 4 modules, which area you need specialization, which area you feel comfortable, which area your career that you feel that particular subject support to your future career, that you have to choose. But when you are choosing that, please consider your career, it's very important. There are 4 papers. One is APM, Advanced Performance Management. AFM, Advanced Finance Management. If I take Sri Lanka, most of the Sri Lankan students, ACCA students, they choose APM and AFM most of the time. But some students feel little difficult to handle APM, Advanced Performance Management. So they might choose AAA as well, Advanced Audit and Assurance. And most of the people who works in audit firm, right, If you take university kids who are doing ACCA, most of the time they do AAA. Reason, like they have exposure in audit firms, so they feel like, okay, it's our area, so they feel comfortable. So if I take AFM Advanced Finance Management, if I take APM Advanced Performance Management, and if I take AAA Advanced Audit and Assurance, and ATX Advanced Taxation. But if you take out of these 4 papers, Advanced Taxation is UK version. So those who wants to migrate to UK, I feel like it is not relevant for you if you are working in Sri Lanka or Middle East or where. But some kind of tax planning exposure that you can get it from it. But on the other hand, if you take the subjects like AAA, Advanced Audit and Assurance, and Advanced Finance Management, Advanced Performance Management, you can choose any 2 of these papers. But when you are choosing, try to do a SWOT analysis. It's very important. What sort of strengths you have, what sort of weaknesses you have, that is very, very important before you choose this paper. I'll give you certain tips before you are choosing Advanced Audit and Assurance. If you have those kind of skills, right, if you are really focusing on those areas, it would be great enough to choose this paper. The number 1 is judgment. Students, you should be like Y type of students rather than what type. Then you can choose this paper. What is mean by the term called what type and Y type? See, in Sri Lankan education system, if you look at, even schools, even universities, right? Even in professional education as well, what I feel is like kids are just by-hearting the content, and kids comfortable enough to by heart what it is, and they apply as it is in the exam, and they try to pass this paper. So ultimate objective of doing a professional paper like ACCA or Chartered Local CA, or else like CMA or else CIMA, whatever the qualifications, students' objective is just passing that paper. So if you are like what type, no problem at all, right? Better to choose some other papers, right? Because here the logic is very important, reason is very important, rationale is very important. So if you are doing AAA paper, if you choose AAA Advanced Audit and Assurance paper, the primary condition is your mindset. That should be Y type. The people who are more rational, the people who accept or reject anything based on a rationale, that people we call Y type of people. If you look at European countries, most of the European education system, US education system, even Japanese education system, it is more towards Y type, more towards role plays, more towards case studies, more towards scenario planning. But our study is most towards exam based. So always I am telling like students, if you have that Y type of attitude where you can able to exploit the rationale, logically understand certain things, if you can able to apply two skills, I'll explain those 2 skills. You might study these 2 skills in your skills level audit and assurance paper. One is professional judgment, 2 is professional skepticism. These 2 characteristics or 2 principles are very important for a Y type of students. If someone we call a rational student, if someone we call Y type of students, that student should have these 2 qualities. Quality number 1 is simple professional judgment. When you are reading a case study, that case study is someone else's perspective. You should visualize that in your perspective. It is very important. You should apply your judgment into that case to analyze that problem. That is what we call professional judgment. The second thing is professional skepticism. You are not just receiver. The information is given in the case study. You are not just accepting everything as it is. No, you should question. What is professional skepticism? An attitude of questioning mind. How a police officer investigating a case, how a CID officer investigating a case, applying their judgment, applying their questioning mind. Through that, they are trying to extract the truth out. The same thing that you should do in this paper as auditor. Therefore, if you have these two skills, and then I can tell you, okay, you are a Y type of students. Therefore, those who think like this, audit paper is easy because if we by heart entire audit paper, if we by heart entire auditing standard, if we by heart study hub, if we by heart whatever the materials like Kaplan or BPP or whatever the material, and if we practice few past papers, we can easily pass. Try to understand one thing, students. If you want to choose this paper, you should have this Y-type attitude and you should have professional judgment and skepticism. Now the problem is, it's my duty to deliver these two skills to you. If you don't have, some students already they have. How? Through informal learning. What is informal learning? Workplace learning. If you work in KPMG or if you worked in EY or if you worked in PwC or Deloitte or Kristen or whatever audit firms, but you learn. Sometimes you might find out, okay, what they taught in audit theory. You might have, if you are an undergraduate or if you did CA before, right? So audit you are studying. In the study text, the context of audit is there. In university also, by third year or fourth year, you might have audit. But when you go to a workplace, when you're going to work in a workplace, that workplace competency, that workplace exposure is totally different. Then what you learn from that exposure, what you learn from that environment, that is what I call professional skepticism and professional judgment. Therefore, I strongly recommend, if you have some exposure in the audit firm, if you have some exposure in the audit firm, you can choose this paper because by naturally you have that attitude of investigative mind. Naturally you have that attitude of skepticism mindset, and naturally you have that attitude of questioning mind. If you don't have audit firm exposure, you should practice more question in order to develop these two skills. So first condition, before you choose this paper, whether you are a what type of student or Y type of students. If you are a what type of student, if you think that if I by heart this and if I can pass this paper, don't choose this paper. This is not your paper. Because this is something like a doctor is working in an internship. Why doctors need to study theory 5 years? Then they should work 1 year internship, because in that internship only, doctors practically going to see how a body look like, how the symptoms look like, for what kind of complexities are there, and they should apply their judgment. When they are applying their judgment, what they learn and what is exist in the practical, that gap should be resolved. That gap should be resolved. That is the role of a doctor. The same thing we are going to do here. You are studying something and you are working in a workplace and you have competency, you have judgment, you have skepticism. By applying that skepticism, you should reduce the gap. Examiner is giving a case study. Examiner is giving a case study with certain expectation. That case study is developed with some kind of an expectation from the examiner. Examiner is expecting you should meet that expectation. Your judgment, examiner's judgment should tally, not at 100%, but that expectation gap should reduced as much as possible. That expectation gap should be reduced as much as possible. That is very important. So try to reduce this gap. How? By applying more skepticism and judgment. Very important. The second thing, some students, all this is my experience, when I discuss with kids, always in my AAA class, I'll ask one question: why you choose AAA? So they give a reply for it. Based on their replies only, I am talking to you all. The second common question, when I ask why you choose audit, Why you choose AAA as an optional paper? Audit and Assurance you should choose because it is a mandatory paper in the skills level. But when it comes to Advanced Audit and Assurance, why you choose this paper? That is my question. Then some kids respond to me like, sir, I am not good in numbers. I don't like numbers. I don't like standards. Accounting standards are boring. I can't remember IAS. I can't remember IFRS. I don't know what is there in IAS 16. I don't know what is there in IAS 17, IAS 40, IAS 23. I am not good in accounting standards. So, I thought of choosing a theory subject where no need to apply these numbers. If you decide like that, it is also wrong. If you decide like that, it is also wrong. Why? Because audit is a verification. Verification of what? Doctor verifying body. Lawyer verifying facts. And we, auditor, verify what? Financial statements. Financial statements prepare based on what? Standards. Therefore, students, standards are the key area of this paper. I will give you a separate list of standards. You should have 100% competency in accounting standard knowledge. Because our problems are financial statement based problems. Our problems are financial statement based problem. If our problems are financial statement based problem, all those are related to what? Make it simple, standard. So those who hate standards, those who don't have competency of the standard, then you should reconsider choosing this paper. Those who are really good in standard, you can easily pass this paper. Some kids might tell like this, so I'm really good in standards but I hate audit. Still you can pass. So I like audit very much but I don't like standard. You can't pass. So try to understand the second condition what I'm trying to explain here is every student who want to pass this paper should have a very sound accounting standard knowledge. Very sound accounting standard. Most of the verbs are indirect verbs. Analyze, assess, criticize, critically evaluate the matters that you need to identify and assess. Likewise, all the verbs will be indirect verbs. So you should be a good reader. You should be a good reader.